Hey, welcome to Rust Admin Academy, where I teach you all of the best tips and tools to owning and operating your own Rust server. On this channel, I do a lot of plugin reviews and tutorials to teach you the best ways to run your servers and make life better for your players. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing so that you stay up to date on everything that we're working on. And if you take any value out of this video whatsoever, be sure to smash that like button for me. Okay, let's get right to it. So today I'm going to be showing you how you can actually sell various different commands to your players inside the game. And there's two different ways that we can do that. We can use a plugin called ServerRewards, or we can use a plugin called ShopGUI. Both of those plugins are available from the UMod website. I've done tutorials on both of those videos in the past, and you are going to need to know how to operate those plugins before you'll actually be able to do what we're doing today. So I'm going to post links to both of those videos in the top right hand corner right now. So make sure you check out those videos so that you have a firm grasp of how to work them before you try to get into like what I consider to be like an advanced section of both of those plugins. Another thing that we have to remember is whatever the command is that we want to be able to sell to our players, we actually have to have the plugin that's associated with that command. So in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how your players can call in the attack heli onto themselves. So obviously for this example, we need a plugin that has the ability to call in the heli. In this case, we're going to use the plugin called Heli Control. And same thing, that is also available from the UMod website. So if you wanted to be able to sell different commands, like for example, if you wanted to be able to sell the ability to call in an airstrike, well then you would need the airstrike plugin, which then gives you the command to call in an airstrike. You can't just make one of these plugins magically call in an airstrike or call in an attack heli. You actually have to have the plugin that controls those commands. I hope that's clear. If that's not clear, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below so that I can respond and clarify a little bit better. So like I said before, I've already done tutorials on ServerRewards and ShopGUI. So make sure you check out those videos if you're not familiar with either one of those plugins. And you don't have to use both. You can use one or the other. In this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to use both to call in commands, but you don't have to use both. You can use one or the other. So make sure you check out those videos, make sure you're comfortable, and then come back and I'll teach you how to sell commands. Okay, let's get on with the tutorial. Okay, so the first one that we're going to start with is ServerRewards. And if you've never seen it before, this is what ServerRewards looks like. It gives us the ability to sell kits, items, commands. We can exchange reward points, etc., etc. But the section that we're dealing with today is commands. Don't worry about what you're seeing on the screen right now. I'm going to show you exactly how to make that happen. I just wanted you to see the differences between ServerRewards and the ShopGUI. So just to be clear, we're working on ServerRewards. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to figure out what the command is that we want to sell in our reward shop. So if we go to the UMod website under Heli Control, like I said, this is the plugin that we're going to use for testing purposes so that I can have something to show you. There's two commands that I'm going to show you how to sell. The first one is callheli. The other one is strafe. So the differences between these two commands. Callheli is if there isn't already an existing heli on the map, you can actually call in a heli and it comes, you know, as you're used to seeing it. It comes from outside the map and it will come in and run its usual course. The second command is strafe. So what that does is if there's an existing heli out there, so for example, you've already called in a heli and it's out there running its normal path, you can use the command strafe to player and that will make the heli go directly towards that player. So if you're looking for a real quick heli fight, this would be a great way to do that. So those are the two commands, as you can see here. So there's chat commands, there's also console commands. We want to be using the part of the plugin that uses console commands, not chat commands. So I actually highlighted the wrong section there. I should have been showing you this. So this command is just strafe, which is usable in the console, as well as callheli, which is usable in the console. So if we head over to the config file, which is actually found in the data folder under ServerRewards and then rewards data. So it's not in the config folder, it's in the data folder. Actually, I'm just going to show you real quick where that is so there's no confusion. So if we're in the folder that houses all of the information for our server, we just click on Oxide. And then we go into data and then we go into ServerRewards. And then the file that we want to be dealing with is reward data right here. And this is what this file looks like once you open it up. So you've got your items, you've got your kits, but we only want to be dealing with commands. So let's scroll down to commands. So this is exactly what you want this to look like. And in fact, what I'll do is I'm going to put a copy pasta of this into the video description so that you can just grab this real quick and throw it into your config file. And then you can just make the changes that you need to make going from there. So I'm just going to go over this real quick and explain to you what each line does, just so that you're familiar with it once you actually put this into your own config file. So the first line is just used by the plugin. This, what you put in this line right here, is not actually displayed anywhere. It's just so that you can find it real quick when you're going through your config file, because some people might have like hundreds of different things available for purchase from their reward shop. The next line is just, obviously it's a description of it, and this they will see, the player will see when they go into the reward shop. You can also add an icon to it. If you want to put a web address in here that will take the plugin to an icon, you can put that in here. The next section is the actual command that we want to execute. So like I said at the beginning, we want to call heli. The display name is what the player is going to see once they go inside the reward shop. It's actually going to display whatever we put on this line. The cost is obviously how much it's going to cost in reward points in order to purchase this command. And you can also put a cooldown on there. I'm not going to, because we might need to call in more than one, and I don't want to have to wait for a cooldown timer, but you can put one in there so that you don't have a whole bunch of different helis coming in and a whole bunch of different, because to be honest with you, heli control is a very resource heavy plugin, and you're going to feel it. If you have like 5 or 10 helis rolling around in your server, it's going to bog down your server pretty good. So it might be a good idea to add a cooldown in a real life application, but for testing purposes, we can leave this at 0. So the other command that I said that I wanted to show you was strafe. So this is the command right here. We're using strafe, and we're adding the parameter player name, which will make it so that the heli will strafe from wherever it is directly to that player's name, whoever called in the strafe command. And of course, we've got the cost, we've got the cooldown. We can put in a description there. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. So the description is very simple. This command will call an existing heli to your location. Why I'm specifying existing is because this command by itself will not call in a heli if there isn't already one existing on the map. So we're also going to put in a display name here. So our display name is just going to be Strafe Attack Heli. So I'm going to save this plugin, reload it. We're going to hop back in game, and I'm going to show you the changes that I made from the first time you saw my server reward shop. Okay, so now that I've saved and reloaded, now we can go to the command section. So before, you just saw 2 little lines right there, the 2 dashes that you see right there, because I didn't have a description and I didn't have a command title. Now we have both of those things in there. We've got our cost of 10, we've got our cost of 8. So let's just test this out real quick and make sure that this is actually working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually purchase the call in attack heli command, and then I'm going to very quickly flip back over so that you can see my console, so that you can actually see the command run. So hopefully it doesn't happen so fast that I can't switch it. I'm going to click on purchase, and then I'm going to quickly switch back over to my other screen. Okay, so as you can see there, it says heli inbound. So we know that the command worked. So let's go back in game and actually try to find the heli, which shouldn't take long. So as you can see, using admin radar, the heli is spawned, and it is 2033 rust units away from us. And we know that the dome is a normal pathway for the attack heli to go. So let's go somewhere else. We'll get the heli to strafe to our location. I just need to find a location that isn't normally part of that pathway. So here I am on an iceberg, nowhere near any monuments. There's no reason for the attack heli to come over here. So I'm just going to wait till it's further onto the map, and then I'm going to go back into my reward shop and get it to strafe to my location. So it looks like it's just getting to land here in a couple of seconds. All right, so it looks like it's making landfall right now. It looks like it's heading over towards, is that airfield or the harbor? It's going over to one of those monuments. Let's call it over to our location right now. So we just go /S to bring up our reward shop again, click on commands, and we want to strafe the attack heli. And this is going to cost us 8 reward points. That's cool. Let's close that. It says we successfully purchased that command. It also says in the console, helicopter is now strafing to K-Rod's position, which is good. That's exactly what we want. And as you can hear, it is most definitely heading directly for me. And there we go. There's Mr. Heli, all ready to attack us. All right, so as you can see, we were definitely able to sell both of those commands. The first one was calling in the heli. The second was having it strafe to our location. And both of them are working exactly the way that we want them to. So be creative with this. There are literally hundreds of different plugins out there that you can sell commands for that a player wouldn't necessarily normally have access to. Like seriously, how many servers are there out there where you can actually call in a heli? Well, it could be yours. So that's how we can do that with ServerRewards. But I also said that I would show you how to do this with the shop GUI. And the concept is very, very similar. There's just a little bit, there's some small changes to the syntax. And if you're familiar with shop GUI, you're going to understand what that syntax is supposed to look like anyways. It's just a little bit tricky. So let's get right into the shop GUI aspect of it. So let's go into the config file for GUIShop, and I'll show you what needs to be added in there in order to be able to purchase this through that plugin instead. And if you're familiar with GUIShop, you know that that config file is actually in your config folder, not in the data folder. So make sure you go to the right location for that. And also, if you're familiar with this plugin, you know that the config file is actually quite large, depending on how many items you have available in there for sale or purchase. So let's scroll all the way down until we find the section dealing with the parameters for calling in the heli. Yes, this file is quite large. Mine is literally 2067 lines long, so it takes me a second. So if you've set up your own shop GUI, you kind of have an understanding of what the syntax looks like. This is the section where we're not necessarily selling this or making it available for a player to purchase this. This is where we are setting the parameters of whatever the item is that we're trying to sell. But if you're familiar with shop GUI, you understand this already. But for those that don't, the section that I have highlighted here right now is not where we're actually selling the item. I'll get into that in a second. Let's just go through this section here right now. So the first section is how you want it to appear in the GUI shop. So call attack heli on yourself. You want to specify that you're actually going to be calling this heli onto the player. So it's not necessarily going to come from outside the map. It might spawn relatively close to where that player is currently standing. How much do we want it to cost? And this depends entirely on what your economy looks like on your server. For testing purposes, I don't mind selling this for 10 coins or dollars or whatever you want to call it. But in your server, you might want to make this a little bit more difficult to attain. Same caution as before, you don't want to have too many of these helis out there. And you also don't want your players getting too rich off of the loot that they're going to get from these helis too. The next line is an image that will show up in our shop GUI. You'll see that in a second. The next line down is the actual physical command that we want to be able to use. So we're gonna call the heli, which we're familiar with, and we're gonna call it on the player ID. So in the ServerRewards section, I said player name, and on here I did player ID, simply to show you that you can do either the Steam ID or the player's name in the event that you might have somebody with the same name, which is possible. So it is better to use player.id. That way it's using the actual Steam 64 ID. There's no chance of it getting called onto the wrong player. And same thing as before, you can set a cooldown on there if you want to. This sell section down here is just simply for syntax. This is not something that a player is going to be able to sell back to your shop and actually make money off of. So don't worry about that, but that section does need to be in there just for syntax purposes. So the second section that we need to go to is where we're actually going to sell this item. So if we scroll down to the different shop categories that we have going on in our plugin, and we go to the command section, we've got under the buy section, so this is where the player can buy something, we've got the command exactly as we wrote it above is now available to buy in this section right here under the category commands. And because it's just a real quick thing that I can show you really fast, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you have this command underneath the buy section and not underneath the sell section. So let me just show you that real quick. So we go in game, we type /shop. That brings up our shop, which has all of the different categories that we've talked about in previous videos. And we click on the command section. So right now we've got call attack heli. We've got the section where we can buy it, and we've got the section where we can sell it. But this isn't a sellable item. So let's say that we wanted to not have this section right here even show up so that your players can't say, hey, why can't I sell this item? So if we just go back here and remove this section completely, we can just go like that and make it so that the square braces there's nothing inside the square braces. That will get rid of that. So let's save that. And then if we go back in game and again type /shop, this is going to bring up the same thing that we were looking at before. But now you'll notice that this section over here underneath the sell is now gone. It gets rid of any of the opportunity that somebody might say, hey, why can't I sell this back? Okay, so let's make sure that this one is actually working. So let's call one heli in on ourselves. Let's close this shop real quick. And as you can see in the chat, it says you've successfully bought 1 times call attack heli on yourself. And just as I'm reading that, it's also going to make me want to try something else. So, oh, there you can see my heli has already been called in. And like I said before, it doesn't come from the edge of the map. It might come from somewhere in the middle of the map. So let's just end kill that. I want to see what happens if I buy 10 of these. Okay, can't buy multiple. So that's good. That's actually what you want. You don't want your players to be able to buy multiples of these things. Trust me, you don't want that load on your server. All right, so I've called in another one. Where's this one going to come from? Oh, there it is. I don't have my headset on, so I couldn't actually hear it. So there we go. We know that that works. Okay, so there you go. That's basically how you can sell commands from your ServerRewards shop or from your GUI shop. I've shown you both ways to do that. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to put both of those example syntaxes in the video description down below so that you guys don't have to mess around with any of that. So make sure you just copy and paste that and put that into your config files or your data file, depending on which plugin you're dealing with. But make sure you make the appropriate changes so that you can't accidentally sell these for too cheap or something like that. I hope this all makes sense, and if it doesn't, please leave comments in the comment section down below. I do my best to respond to every single one of them, and if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, I can address them there. If that doesn't work for you, make sure you join the Discord, because there's tons of people in there that are looking to help out. I don't know for 100% fact that there are people in the Discord that can help you with this plugin, because I do know that there are a lot of people in there that are asking for this tutorial. So to those of you that are in my Discord asking for this tutorial, here you go. I finally got to it. And as always, the link to the Discord is in the video description down below. And before I take off, make sure you check out some of the videos on the right hand side of your screen right now. And of course, if you haven't already done so, I'm going to put a subscribe button right down below me. All right, that's it for this video. I'll see you guys on the next one.